My name is Lauren if you're new here, and if you're not new and you're returning, you're amazing. Thank you. Hopefully you're coming back because you love indie companies as much as I do. I love indie companies. What's an indie company? You might be asking if you haven't heard that phrase before. Indie companies are independently owned companies that tend to be much smaller than, say, your big brands like Tarte or Urban Decay or Charlotte Tilbury. Those are big brands that are owned by other big brands, so they don't operate independently. But the company we're talking today is a much smaller brand that puts out some amazing things. Today we're talking about Nomad Cosmetics and their most recent palette that they came out with, Ghost Town USA. It is beautiful. Their Halloween fall palettes are just to die for. I'm hoping this is showing on camera, but there's like a whole thing going on here, and it's amazing. They put so much work into their palettes. I always pick them up. They're so good. The quality is great. The themes are always great. And they actually always support a good cause. In this case, this palette is supporting the Birds of Prey at the Peregrine Fund. I'm not sure what percentage of money is going into that fund, but they always support a good cause with each of their palette releases, which I absolutely love. It's great. So let's talk more about this palette. So what is this palette? Well, this palette is currently retailing for $49 on the website. And it is a cool toned palette. And I know we just talked about the new one from Natasha Denona, but this is definitely a cool toned palette as well. And I was not going to say no to this. I wasn't going to say no, probably regardless of the color story, because they just go the extra mile with us. I want to read you a little bit about the destination. I think I'm going to read this while I quickly do the swatches. So you're going to hear my voice. You're gonna see swatches in fast motion, and it's gonna be beautiful, maybe. We're trying something new today. But I know yesterday's video was very long because I wanted to go into detail about all the new products that I was trying. So this video is gonna be a little bit shorter, but let me tell you what this palette is about. The destination. In barren terrain down dusty gravel roads rest deteriorating mining towns of America's Wild West. Once bustling settlements full of strike-it-rich fever, they now are in arrested decay 100 years after fortunes and residents vanished. From Calico, California to Garnet, Montana, these ghost towns are full of unexpected sounds, unexplained sightings, and unimaginable tales that suggest perhaps they aren't as abandoned as they seem. The color story, grit and gold. Cool tone mattes in browns, greens, and blues paired with shimmery metals of copper, gold, and silver. 9 coolest sterling mattes and 9 glitziest gold shimmers, inspired by the haunted ghost towns of the Wild West. The cause. We're so proud to support Birds of Prey at the Peregrine Fund that protects the habitats of raptors like the condors, vultures, eagles, and hawks of America's Wild West. So how cool is this palette? I absolutely love that it is based on old mining towns. We have quite a few here in California. I've been to a few. If you've been to Eureka, that's one. I've been there a few times with my dad back in the day and my brother, and it was so fun to explore. And it's such like a monumental piece of America's history, like the gold mining period. So it's just such a cool palette. I absolutely love the theme that they went with. And one really cool thing that they did with this launch is I think it was the first couple hundred or 100, I'm not sure the exact amount, but the first batch of people that purchased this palette got a little scratch off so you can pan for gold. So I am going to actually film myself scratching this, and I'm going to post it on my TikTok because I'm posting on my TikTok now. If you haven't followed me yet, I'm linking it down below. It is a whole different arena over on TikTok. I am learning it very slowly, but that's the palette we're going to be talking about today. So I am just going to do a quick look. Again, this video is going to be a little bit shorter because yesterday's video was so long, and I wanted to give enough attention to this palette to just shine a spotlight on it because I love Nomad so much, but I wanted it to be a little bit shorter too because I'm tired. It's my day off. I'm probably going to take a nap at some point. That's what I do on my days off. I'm a grown adult, I swear. So let's just go ahead. Let's get into the look. Let's do something green. Yeah, let's do something green. So I've already gone ahead and primed this eye with my Kaleidos Tone Activator Primer, and this thing has lasted me forever. I'm actually really impressed. And I am just gonna do a relatively easy green look, I think, today. Nothing too crazy. I'll be playing with this palette quite a bit over the next month because I will be doing a ranking of my favorite fall palettes, and will this be on it? I don't know, maybe. It's new, so I gotta try it out more. But let's go into this green up here, Ghost Town, and I'm gonna go ahead and put that in just my upper lid. You know, we're gonna do just kind of a classic little look here. I also love that they picked the colors just like so perfect for the theme. Grungy, cool tone mattes, and then metallic shimmers to represent the different ores that the miners found. Like, how freaking cool is that? How pretty is this green? Oh my gosh. It's a very much like grayish sage green, I would say. Very pretty. Ooh, very pretty. Okay, next what I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and go into Stagecoach Mary right here, and I'm going to fluff that out just on the end of my eye, I think. Happy fall, by the way, if I haven't said it already. It is technically fall. Okay, man, I am the worst with dates. So I was like, is it technically fall? Because I feel like it was just summer, right? Like, is it fall? And I guess it is. Some people recognize September 1st as fall, and then some people recognize September 22nd as the beginning of fall. So I guess if you work for a weather channel, you see it as September 1st. That's the beginning of fall. But potentially, if you're like me and you don't work for a weather channel, which would be super cool, but unfortunately I do not, then you may be looking at September 22nd as the official start. Or you could also go off my Pinterest board, and the launch of the PSL from Starbucks is the beginning of fall. So one thing that I notice I do sometimes is I bring the color too far out. So I'm trying to be a little bit better about that with this look, but I'm just kind of going in with a light hand and just really blending that color out. And honestly, it blended beautifully, like really, really good. No patchiness, it looks gorgeous. It was easy to build up that color on the end. So that's really exciting. Okay, I really want to go into this gray Skinner's Saloon. I really also now want to go into each of the shadow names and kind of look into why they decided to pick these names, and maybe learn a little more about US history, because I actually majored in history and English. History and English, that was my two things. But I didn't really pick one category to focus on. So I kind of like picked and chose from all over the world and different time areas. So I never really learned enough about one specific point in time. Which is my bad. So I'm just going into that color and I'm just patting it into my crease. Like that. Oh, it's pretty. I really like gray. Okay, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back with my Kaleidos primer, and I'm just going to put a dab in the corner of my eye, in kind of the middle. That's where I want a bit of shimmer. Okay, I'm gonna let that dry down for a second. While we're waiting for that to dry, what we can do is put something underneath the waterline. And let's go into Undead Sheriff. Love it. We're just gonna do that. Easy peasy. Okay, now that we have let the primer dry down a little bit, let's go into, oh, I don't know, actually, this is kind of difficult. We kind of moved away from the green theme. It turned into gray. So let's make it green. Let's go into Calico, California. This one definitely had a little bit of a green sheen to it, as you can see. And I'm just going to press that into the primer with my finger. Ooh, pretty. It's definitely coming out with a darker base on my finger. So let me press it a little more. Oh. There we go. It's a little better. And real quick, I think I'm just gonna go back. I'm gonna go back into Ghost Town, which is that sage green. And just add a little bit. And that's it. That's kind of all I wanted to do today. That was really simple. I know, it didn't take very long either, which goes to speak to the formula in this. So let me go ahead and replicate that exact same look on this eye. I'm gonna put on some eyeliner and mascara to complete the look, and then I'm gonna talk about this palette. And what I wanna do as well is I wanna compare it to the Nude Natasha Denona and just talk about the difference in these palettes since they're both calling themselves cool tone palettes. And yeah, I'll be right back. So this is the look we ended up with, and I am a big fan. So let me do a quick little overview of my thoughts on this palette before we move on to comparing it to the new Natasha Denona I Need a Nude palette, which again, the reason I wanted to compare these two is because they're both advertising themselves as cool toned palettes. So I have some feelings about that. Now, to talk about the Ghost Town USA palette really fast, I love it. I absolutely love it. The colors performed so well. These mattes are on a whole nother level. Normally you'll find me really gushing over shimmers, but the mattes in this palette are so buttery and soft and so easy to blend that it was just kind of a dream to work with. I very rarely harp on mattes over shimmers, but this palette, the mattes are something special. So they did something great with that formula. The shimmers are also amazing, but it's really the mattes that kind of shine for me in this particular palette. I got no fallout when I did my look at all, which I absolutely love. And I feel like there is a really great range of colors in this palette. I mean, you have your neutral browns, which is always good, but then you have your more cool tone blues and greens, which is awesome to see. I really love that. I just think they did a great job with this palette. I'm not gonna go too much more into it because I love it. There's nothing that I can say more than that. I think this is a great palette. The formula is great. There's no fallout. I think this is just a really good cool tone palette. But let's talk about how it stacks up to the Natasha Denona I Need a Nude palette. So this is the Natasha Denona I Need a Nude palette. Right off the bat, it's shocking the difference between these two palettes. When I first got this one, I ended up deciding it was a cool toned palette. If you took out Wit and Vague, which are these pinky colors, once you take out those, then it definitely looks more cool toned. And I feel like on the eyes it looked more cool toned. But then when you compare it to something like Ghost Town USA, let me see if I can do this. It's a pretty stark difference. These are definitely very, very different. These are both more on the cool tone side, but this palette has no variety, right? Every look that I did, I thought looked very similar. All the reviews that I watched, all the different looks that people did looked very similar, and that is not what you're gonna get with this. You're gonna get such a better variety of cool tone colors. You're gonna be able to come up with different looks. So it's crazy to me that the Natasha Denona is $69. The Nomad is $49. They're both calling themselves cool toned, but I think there's a clear winner, and I think it has to be the Ghost Town USA palette. It's just, the variety is great. The formula in both palettes are really good, I will say, but I just like that you can actually get a ton of different looks out of this palette. And there's no pinks. Like, don't put pinks in a cool toned palette, please. Like, salmon's no. Like, there's the purple here, Ghost Train, which I would say is a cool tone purple, but there's no pinks, which is, I don't know, it throws me off, those pinks in that palette. It just doesn't look like it fits. Overall, I'm actually really excited to have a genuinely cool tone palette in my collection because I love cool tone colors. So I'm so excited to continue to play with this palette. I love it. I just think what they did with the cover is so cool. I love this palette. I'm really excited that I have this because I think it's going to be a great addition, and it's going to be a palette that I use a lot in the fall. Hope this ended up being a little bit of a quicker review. I would love to hear your thoughts on the new Ghost Town USA palette from Nomad. Did you pick it up? Are you planning on picking it up? I'd love to hear from you down below, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!